My name is Vela Solen and I am a United States Marine. I always thought that family should be there for you on your most special days. You know, like when you have a big party or when something wonderful happens in your life, family would be there to cheer for you, hug you and be happy with you. I believed that for as long as I could remember. But the night before my engagement party at a very fancy place called the Cloister on Sea Island, something very mean, very shocking and very sad happened. Something I never thought could happen with my own family. My brother Kalen did something I still can't forget. He grabbed my beautiful, expensive engagement dress. This was not just any dress. It cost $18,000 and it had been carefully made by a designer in Manhattan. I had gone for 8 separate fittings to make sure it fit perfectly. It had soft, smooth Italian silk, delicate lace from France, and tiny beads that sparkled like little stars. This was the dress I had dreamed of wearing on one of the happiest days of my life. And yet that night Kalen dragged it out into the backyard. He poured lighter fluid on it, a dangerous, flammable liquid that catches fire fast, and then struck a match. The dress went up in flames immediately. The silk curled, the lace turned black, and the beads popped and melted with tiny sounds like fireworks. Kalen watched it burn. And he laughed. He smiled at me while my dreams and my beautiful dress turned to ash. He said, "I want you to look like a total failure tomorrow." I was frozen. I couldn't move. My heart felt like it had stopped. I looked at my parents. I expected them to rush forward, stop Kalen, or at least tell him it was wrong. But they did not. My mother's eyes were cold. Her arms were crossed. Her face looked like ice. "You deserve to be ruined," she said. My father didn't even speak. He only nodded like he agreed with her. I couldn't believe it. I felt my chest tighten, my throat hurt and my legs wanted to run. And yet, 5 hours later, when the guests arrived at the beautiful oceanfront ballroom at the Cloister, my family thought they would see me destroyed. They thought I would be crying, embarrassed, maybe even hiding in a corner. But instead I walked in proudly, standing tall in my Marine Corps dress uniform. It was crisp, clean and perfect. Every ribbon on it had been earned with hard work, sweat and courage. It was a uniform that made even generals stop talking when they saw it. Kalen's smile disappeared. His face turned pale. He could not say anything. The only thing that came out of his mouth was one broken word. "Vela." I knew that night and the next day were going to be remembered for a very long time. If you want to know how I made them regret ever lighting that match, you would have to read every word carefully because it was not easy and it was not quick. 2 weeks before the engagement party, I drove my truck into the familiar gravel driveway of my childhood home in Brunswick. The house looked exactly the same as it always had. White siding, a wide front porch and an American flag waving in the evening breeze. My father never took it down no matter the weather. Inside, the house felt 10 degrees colder than the summer heat outside. Maybe it was because of the memories. Maybe it was because my parents made it feel that way. Dad sat in his recliner, newspaper open, not even lowering it when I walked in. "You're early," he said like I had shown up without permission. Mom was already pouring sweet tea for Kalen. He was stretched across the couch, feet on the coffee table, fingers flying over his brand new iPhone. My little sister, Lyra, peeked around the corner from the stairs. She gave me the smallest possible smile and then disappeared before anyone could see. Kalen finally looked up. Well, he said, smirking. "The Marine actually took leave. Thought you people never got time off." I let my duffel bag hit the floor. "Hey Kalen. Good to see you too." Mom carried the tea straight to him, ice clinking in the glass like he was the only one who existed. "Your brother's been under a lot of stress with school," she said without looking at me. "Try to be understanding, Vela. Stress, right?" While I had spent the last 20 years traveling and working hard in the military, Kalen had changed his college major 3 times, wrecked 2 brand new trucks, which Dad replaced the next week, and still slept in the same twin bed he had since middle school. Rent-free, gas card loaded, insurance paid, whatever Kalen wanted, Kalen got. Dad finally folded his newspaper. "Still don't understand why you couldn't pick something normal. The Marines, Vela, really?" he said. I had heard that 1,000 times. I had a full scholarship to Georgia Southern. But I chose to serve in the Marines instead. I walked away from what my family considered the right life, the easy life, the life that would make them proud. I swallowed my frustration. I was there to survive 2 weeks at home, not to fight every old battle again. Kalen snorted. "Speaking of the party, Alien's already staying with his parents. Guess even he couldn't stomach this place longer than 24 hours. That hurt. Alien and I had been together for 7 years. He was strong, dependable, steady as concrete. His parents liked me and they had welcomed me from the very first day. And yet, I had insisted on staying here in my old bedroom with faded beach posters on the walls, because some tiny, foolish part of me hoped maybe 2 weeks could make things different. But every single dinner followed the same script. Mom bragged about Kalen's half-finished business degree and his lifted Silverado truck. Dad talked about local politics and favors he had collected. When the spotlight finally turned to me, it was only to ask why I never wore makeup anymore, or if the military had ruined my chances of ever looking feminine again. Lyra barely spoke. She pushed mashed potatoes around her plate and stared at her phone. One night, when Mom stepped out to take a phone call, Lyra leaned over and whispered, "I'm really glad you're home." Then she looked terrified that someone might hear her. During the days, I pretended to help with party preparations. But the planners had already been hired from Savannah. The oceanfront ballroom was booked with a live string quartet, a 5-course dinner, a raw bar and the best drinks. My only official job was to smile for pictures and not talk about what had happened in my life after I joined the Marines. One afternoon, Kalen cornered me in the dining room while I was folding the thick cream-colored programs for the party. "The whole town's coming to see if the rumors are true," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "That your big sister's some kind of secret government agent now." I kept folding. "Logistics, Kalen," I said quietly. "I move containers and people. That's it." He stepped closer. I could smell the midday beer on his breath. "Sure you do," he said. "Just don't embarrass Mom and Dad with your little war stories this weekend, got it?" I didn't answer. I just kept folding. That night I sat alone on the back porch steps. The cicadas screamed in the pine trees. I stared at the patchy lawn I used to mow as a kid to earn an allowance. Alien texted me from 10 miles away. "Miss you already. 2 weeks and that ring is yours forever." I typed back, 2 weeks. I truly believed I could survive 2 more weeks in that house. I was dead wrong. The smell of smoke slipped under my bedroom door at exactly 2:17 a.m. I was out of bed before my eyes were even fully open. Every instinct screamed, fire. Not a regular fire like a barbecue. Not a neighbor burning leaves. This was chemical acid-like wrong. I yanked on running shorts, grabbed my phone and ran downstairs barefoot. My pulse pounded in my throat. The back door was wide open. Night air poured in, thick and sticky with Georgia humidity, and something was burning that should never burn. Kalen was in the middle of the backyard. A red 5-gallon gas can swung in his right hand. A cheap plastic lighter glowed orange in his left. My engagement dress, the one that cost $18,000, hung from the old rusted clothesline like a sacrifice. Flames were racing up the hand-beaded skirt, eating the French lace and turning the silk into black curls and gray ash. He saw me and smiled, the same slow, vicious smile he had used when we were kids to hurt me. He said, "Took you long enough, Vela." Dad stood 10 feet to the left, arms crossed, glasses reflecting the fire. Mom was beside him, phone in hand but not calling for help. Not doing anything. I spoke calmly even though my body shook. "Put it out, Kalen. Right now." He flicked the lighter and tossed the dress into the grass like it was garbage. "Not my problem," he said. Dad's voice, flat and hard, cut through the night. "You deserve to be ruined, Vela. Maybe this teaches you where you really belong." Mom nodded. "You did this to yourself the day you walked into that recruiter's office." The fire hit the top of the dress. Beads exploded with tiny pops. The skirt collapsed in on itself. Heat rolled across the yard and hit my bare skin like a slap. Lyra's window upstairs cracked open about 6 inches. She stood there, a small shadow behind the screen, eyes wide, hand over her mouth. We locked eyes. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just pulled the curtain shut and disappeared. Kalen kicked at the ashes. "Guess you're wearing your uniform tomorrow, huh, sis? Or maybe sweatpants. Either way, you'll look exactly like what you are." Dad turned toward the house. "Clean this up before the neighbors wake up." Mom followed without another glance at me. Kalen brushed past me on the porch, shoulder slamming into mine hard enough to make me step aside. "Sleep tight, General," he whispered. The screen door banged shut. Upstairs, lights flicked off one by one until the whole house went dark again. I stayed on the porch until the last ember cooled and the yard smelled only of wet ash and gasoline. Then I went inside, climbed the stairs without making a sound, and started packing everything I had brought. By 4 a.m., I was flying down Highway 82. My speedometer needle kissed 100 miles per hour. The South Georgia pine trees blurred past in the headlights. The windows were cracked just enough for the cold night air to slap me awake. No radio, no tears, just the steady roar of the engine. One thought was locked in place. This ends today. I had packed in exactly 15 minutes. Civilian clothes in one duffel. Toiletries in another. The small velvet box with my engagement ring. And my marine dress blues are carefully locked in a hard case. I left the backyard exactly as they wanted. Ashes, gasoline, and the smell of burnt dreams. Let them figure out what to tell the yard guy on Tuesday. The house was dark and very quiet when I walked out the side door. Not a single light was on. No one said a word. No one followed me. No one even made a sound. It was like I didn't exist there anymore. The moment my boots touched the gravel outside, it was as if I had disappeared from that house. 3 hours later, after driving down an empty highway in the dark, I finally saw the big gates of Marine Corps Logistics Base Albany. They were tall and strong, standing like soldiers themselves in the night. A young Marine guard was sitting in his little booth by the gate. When he saw the sticker on my windshield, he jumped up so fast I thought he might touch the sky. He snapped to attention, stiff and serious, then gave me a crisp salute. The big metal gate slowly lifted and I drove through it, my car making soft crunching noises on the gravel road. I parked beside the officer's lot near the golf course on the base. It was still very early. Dawn hadn't even arrived yet. The sky was still dark, but the lights on the golf course were shining bright and white. They made long, straight tunnels of light across the wet grass that was still sparkling with dew. One lone golfer, wearing a navy windbreaker, was hitting a ball on the first hole. The ball flew through the air with a soft whistle. I turned off my engine and got out of the car. I was carrying my hat and my boots, holding them carefully under my arm. Every step I took made a little crunch on the cart path. Major General Ilaria Voss, who had retired from the Marine Corps, turned around when she heard me coming. She was 62 years old. Her silver hair shone in the light and was tucked neatly under her cap. She stood tall, strong, and perfect, like a soldier who had never missed a step. Even though she was older, her golf swing was still perfect, smooth, and strong. She has saved me from very dangerous situations more than once. I had learned from her how to be brave and strong. She looked at me silently and then lowered her golf club. "Talk," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but it had power. I told her the story, short and serious. My $18,000 dress had been burned to ashes. My own brother had started the fire. My parents stood there and did nothing to stop it. My little sister saw everything happen, but she did nothing either. I told her everything in a calm voice, like I was talking to a very important general about very important things. After I finished, we were quiet for a long time. A long silence stretched between us and I could feel the tension in the air. Then she finally nodded sharply. "Open the trunk. Get your dress blues, ma'am," she said. I opened my mouth to argue, to say that maybe this wasn't a good idea, but she stopped me with a look that could end someone's career in an instant. Her eyes were sharp and serious. "I've known you for 15 years, Gua," she said. "You don't give up. You don't run. And you sure don't let a bunch of small-town people decide things for you. Besides," she added, "I never liked your mother." That tiny crack made my heart feel a little lighter. It was like a tiny crack in the ice that had been around my chest for a long time. We went into the empty locker room. It still smelled like lemon cleaner and old leather. I changed into my dress blues carefully. My uniform came out perfect. The creases were sharp and straight, sharp enough to cut little ribbons of paper. My stars and medals were polished until they shined. General Voss came out of the locker room after me. Even though she was retired, her uniform fit her perfectly, just like it had when she was still an active general. Her chest was full of medals, so many that it would take both of my arms to measure them. I couldn't help staring at them. "Retirement ceremony was last year," she said, adjusting her cap. "The dry cleaner still works miracles." We stood side by side under the bright lights. Two women in dress blues, medals and stars shining. Her hand reached over and straightened my cap carefully. "Walk in there like you own the floor," she said. "Because today you do. If anyone tries to cause trouble, they answer to both of us." I looked into her eyes. Yes, ma'am, I said firmly. She gave a small, sharp smile. Good. Let's go show people what real power looks like. We drove north in her big black SUV. Both of us were wearing our dress blues. The sun was just starting to rise, and the first sunlight made the marshes along the causeway look golden. Everything looked quiet and beautiful. When we arrived at the hotel, the valet almost dropped the keys when he saw me step out in my uniform at exactly 6:30 a.m. sharp. He had never seen anything like it. I handed him the keys. Park it close. We won't be long, I said. We walked under the big archway to the oceanfront courtyard. The moment we appeared, everyone stopped talking. A woman in a cream-colored dress froze with a drink halfway to her lips. A man stepped back into a plant like he had seen a ghost. People stared. The courtyard was open and full of light. We walked into the huge lobby. The ceilings were very high. Shiny chandeliers hung down, sparkling in the early sunlight. The floors were polished marble shining like mirrors. A string quartet was playing soft music, but the moment we walked in they stopped. Their bows stopped on the strings and there was only silence. Lysandra Thornridge saw me first. She ran toward me and hugged me tightly. Tears ran down her face, soaking my uniform sleeve. Colonel Cale Thornridge, her husband, followed behind. He didn't hug me but he saluted perfectly. Outstanding, Marine, he said. His voice was proud, deep and strong. Damn outstanding. Lysandra finally let go of me, still holding my shoulders. You're in full dress blues, she said. This is incredible. Cale looked at General Voss beside me. His eyes widened in surprise. More guests are arriving now. Everyone noticed us instantly. They recognized our uniforms, our medals and our stars. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone was silent. Phones came out. Some people were filming, others were just staring. Someone whispered, "That's two female generals in dress blues." Another voice replied, "The younger one is the bride." Lysandra squeezed my arms again. "Thank you for choosing this uniform. This is the proudest moment of my life and I'm not even your mother yet." Cale growled. "Your blood relatives are about to learn what happens when they mess with a United States Marine." We reached the double oak doors of the ballroom. Music and laughter leaked out from inside. General Voss turned to me. "Your show now, Major General," she said quietly. I took a deep breath of the salty ocean air mixed with the smell of polished wood. Then we opened the doors. Kalen, my brother, walked in first at exactly 7:15 a.m. He wore a light gray suit, very fancy and very expensive. His hair was slicked back perfectly. His grin was wide and arrogant, like he thought he owned the room. Behind him were our parents. My mom clung to his arm in a pale peach dress. My dad followed, scanning the room for attention. Kalen saw me and his grin froze instantly. His face went white. His mouth opened, closed and opened again. He couldn't speak. Everyone in the room turned to look. The string quartet hit a wrong note and drinks froze halfway to people's lips. Phones went up trying to capture the moment. Every single person's eyes were on me. My dress blues were perfect, shining under the chandeliers. My silver stars gleamed. My ribbons were lined up in perfect rows. Major General Ilaria Voss stood half a step behind me, also in her dress blues. Her own 2 stars shone like warning lights. Colonel Cale Thornridge's voice cut through the silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present Major General Guasolin, United States Marine Corps, and Major General Ilaria Voss, United States Marine Corps, retired. The bride and her chosen escort." A retired 4-star Army general stood up first. Then all the other military officers stood. Active duty officers, retired officers, everyone. 200 chairs scraped back at once and everyone saluted. It was loud and proud and very serious. Everyone in the room understood exactly who we were and what we had accomplished. The look on Kalen's face was priceless. He could not believe his eyes. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. He had expected to see me like nothing had happened, maybe hiding somewhere quiet and small. Instead, I was standing there in full Marine dress blues, proud, tall and shining with medals. I was the Marine he had always underestimated. The guests were in awe. Phones were filming. Some people whispered to each other. Some mouths were open in shock. My parents were frozen, looking at me as if they had never seen me before. Lysandra whispered to me, "You've done more than just show them. You've taught them a lesson they'll never forget." General Voss gave me a small nod. Her eyes were proud. She had trained me, guided me, and today she was showing the world what a Marine could do. We moved forward into the room side by side. Every step we took was loud in the silence. People parted, giving us space. Every officer in the room knew how important this moment was. Every guest knew that this was not just a wedding entrance. This was power, pride, and honor in motion. Kaylin tried to speak, but no sound came out. My parents finally understood they had underestimated me. Every eye in the room was on the two women in uniform. Two major generals, shining stars, perfect ribbons, and polished medals. Two women who had saved lives, led soldiers, and now stood proud together. Kale's voice rang out again. Major General Guasolene, United States Marine Corps, and Major General Ilaria Voss, United States Marine Corps, retired. The bride and her chosen escort. The room was filled with respect, pride, and a little fear. 200 people were standing. Everyone was silent except for the sound of their salutes. It was a moment that would be remembered by everyone there. The clapping in the big ballroom started slow, just polite little claps. But then it got louder and louder like a wave until it felt like the room might shake. Kalen didn't move at all. He looked frozen. His face went from white to green like he was about to be sick right there on the shiny Italian marble floor. Dad tried to smile. He lifted his face and stretched his lips, but it looked fake, like a mask. "Vela, honey," he said, "we were so worried when you didn't come down this morning." But Cale Thornridge stopped him before he could say more. Cale didn't yell. He didn't need to. His voice was calm but very strong. "Ronald, I think you know my future daughter-in-law, Major General Solene. Right now she is in charge of everyone in this room except General Voss and, well, God." Everyone quieted down. General Voss spoke next. He sounded calm and very serious, like ice. "I've been mentoring GA for 15 years. She doesn't do drama just to get attention. If she is wearing her dress blues to her own engagement party, someone needs to explain themselves, and they need to do it right now." A Navy captain at table 3 whispered, loud enough for 6 tables to hear, "Holy wow, she's a 2-star general." That whisper spread like fire across dry grass. Phones came out everywhere. People started streaming the event live, and the counters on the screen started ticking up fast, past 10,000 in seconds. Elian pushed through the crowd, carrying Summer's coat under his arm. He stopped 2 feet away from me. He looked at the shiny stars on my shoulders, the medals on my chest, and the silence in the room. His eyes filled with tears. Then, without warning, he dropped to one knee right there in front of 200 people. "Guana," he said, his voice shaking just enough to be human, "I have never been prouder to be the man who gets to stand next to you." The room erupted in cheers. People whistled. Cameras flashed like little bursts of fire. Kalen finally found his voice, high and shaking. "This is insane. She's just showing off." Kale turned to him slowly, like a cannon aiming right at him. "Young man," he said, "the last person who disrespected a Marine general in front of me spent 30 days in the brig and had to write a 5-page apology. Choose your next words very carefully." Mom tried to fix things the nice way. "Sweetheart, maybe we can all talk in private." But General Voss interrupted, calm and icy. "Private conversations ended the moment your family decided arson was an appropriate response to jealousy." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone whispered the word arson, and it spread faster than the applause had. Dad's face turned purple with anger and shame. Elian stepped in between me and my family and spoke for the first time since entering the ballroom. "Mr. and Mrs. Solene Kalen, you are guests at an event paid for by my parents. Start behaving like it, or resort security will finish this conversation on the sidewalk." Kalen looked around for backup and found none. 200 people who had been ready to clap him on the back just 10 minutes ago were now staring at him like he was dangerous. The head planner appeared out of nowhere. Her headset on, eyes wide, clearly panicked. "Major General Solene, your table is ready whenever you are. General Voss, we have added a seat of honor immediately." I still hadn't spoken a single word. I didn't need to. The whole ballroom already belonged to me. I just looked straight at Kalen and told the truth for the first time that morning. Last night at 2:17 a.m., my own brother doused my $18,000 engagement gown in gasoline and set it on fire in the backyard while my parents stood 5 feet away and watched. Mom told me I deserved to be ruined. Dad agreed. The ballroom went so quiet that you could hear the ocean outside pounding against the shore. Kaylin's mouth flapped open first. She's lying to make us look bad. Cale Thornridge's voice cracked across the room like a rifle shot. Young man, you will stand there and keep your mouth shut until the general finishes. Kaylin stayed quiet. Kept going. Even. Strong. My 17-year-old sister had watched from her bedroom window and stayed silent. That's why I was standing there in dress blues instead of the beautiful gown I had spent a year planning. Mom tried another tactic. Instant tears. Gianna baby, you know how tension affects a family. General Voss, calm and icy again, cut her off. Tension doesn't make you commit felony arson against a 2-star general. A retired Navy admiral muttered, 18 grand up in smoke. And the number spread out like a curse. Then the side door opened. Lyra walked in. She wore a pale pink junior bridesmaid dress, curled hair and eyes red and swollen from crying. Every head in the room turned to her. She walked straight down the center aisle, stopped 5 feet from Kaylin, and spoke loud enough for every phone to catch it. I saw everything, she said. Her voice was trembling but steady. Kaylin poured the gas. He lit the match. Mom and Dad just stood there. I was terrified last night. I'm not terrified now. Jie is the only person in this family who ever protected me. Today I will protect her. Mom made a strangled sound. Dad's face turned the color of raw meat. Kaylin rounded on Lyra. You little traitor. Elian moved faster than I had ever seen him. 1 step forward, shoulder blocking Kaylin from touching my sister. Finish that sentence, he said, and you'll do it through broken teeth. The room turned like one organism. 200 people who had been politely neutral just 30 seconds earlier now stared at my blood family with open disgust. Phone stayed up. Live stream counters climbed past 70,000. Dad tried the politician's smile one last time, hands raised. Folks, this is simply a private family matter blown out of proportion. We're all very proud of Gaina's accomplishments. A senior senator's wife from Georgia stood up. Her voice was strong like steel. Ronald Solen. I've been on charity boards with you for 20 years. You just admitted you watched your son destroy property belonging to a major general. You are finished in this state. A defense contractor CEO at table 2 added, loud enough for the back row to hear. My firm will remember exactly who raises cowards and arsonists. In seconds the Solen name became toxic waste. Guests physically turned their chairs. A retired Marine gunny I didn't know walked over and planted himself between me and my parents like a shield. 4 more veterans followed without a word. Kaylin tried to laugh it off. Come on, it was only a stupid dress. A SEAL commander I had once shared a helo with in Helmand leaned in and said very quietly, walk away now, son, or I'll fold you into pieces small enough to mail home. Kaylin backed up until the wall stopped him. Dad's face collapsed. His politician's smile was gone. He looked old, small, and very afraid of the room he once thought he owned. Mom's theatrical sobbing started. No one moved to comfort her. Lyra crossed the last 5 steps, took my gloved hands in both of hers and squeezed. I'm sorry I waited until now, she said. I squeezed back once. You're here now. That's what matters. General Voss rested a hand on my left shoulder. Cale stood on my right. Elian was solid at my side. In under 2 minutes, my blood family had been publicly, completely, and irreversibly erased from the room. 4 resort security officers in blazers appeared at the main doors, faces professional and serious. The message required no words. It was time for them to go. 6 months later, Elian and I were unpacking in Okinawa. The ocean glittered through the open balcony doors of our new quarters on Camp Foster. The engagement party had continued perfectly the moment security escorted my blood family off the property. The food and drinks went on. The raw bar opened. The dance floor filled, all before the doors even closed behind my parents and brother. Lysandra cried happy tears all day. Cale toasted me like I was his own daughter. General Voss stayed until the last song, then saluted me on the front steps at midnight and told me I had made the Marine Corps proud. Lyra moved in with the Thornridges the same week. She finished her senior year at a private academy in Savannah, got early acceptance to the Naval Academy, and now calls me every Sunday from Annapolis. We never mention Brunswick unless she brings it up first. Back home the fallout was fast and merciless. Dad lost his county commission seat within 30 days. The same people who once begged for his vote suddenly couldn't remember his name. The local paper ran the headline, Commissioner silent while sun burns general's gown. He resigned before the ethics hearing even started. Kalen lost his ROC scholarship the second the live stream hit the commandant's desk. No branch would touch him after that. Last I heard he was bartending at a shrimp shack on St. Simon, still telling anyone who would listen that the Marines ruined his life. Mom's Garden Club presidency evaporated overnight. Invitations dried up. Her country club membership was quietly revoked for conduct unbecoming. She tried posting tearful apologies on Facebook. The comments were brutal and unanimous. I blocked every number. I deleted every account. I changed my emergency contact to Elian. The only mail I still get from Georgia is the occasional postcard from Lyra with a yearly update and a pressed cherry blossom. Elian and I married 3 months later in a small chapel on Camp Lejeune. Just 50 guests. Marines, mentors, and the Thornridges. General Voss gave me away. Cale walked Lyra down the aisle as a surprise bridesmaid. I wore dress blues again. Elian wore his. We didn't need fancy gowns. The video from the cloister still circulates online. It has 23 million views now. Every few months, a new clip goes viral and another wave of strangers messages me, "Thank you for your service. You handled that like a boss." I answer the ones from young female troops and ignore the rest. Sometimes late at night when the Pacific is calm I think about that backyard fire. Not with anger anymore, just with distance, like reading about someone else's life. I learned 3 things that weekend. Family is not blood. It's the people who show up when the match is lit. Rank isn't the stars on your shoulder. It's the choices you make when no one is filming. Forgiveness is a luxury I don't owe anyone who smiled while my future burned. Elian walks in from the kitchen carrying 2 beers. He kisses the top of my head and hands me one. "Still thinking about Georgia?" he asks. I take a long drink, watch the sun drop into the East China Sea and smile. Not anymore.